Look, I know that I said that I was done talking about the live action Snow White with Rachel Zegler, but then the Rotten Tomatoes, the critic reviews finally came out on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, as of the recording of this, I am recording this on Wednesday night, March 18th. So this number can be updated by the time that this video goes out in the morning. The tomato meter is currently sitting at 48% for Disney's live action Snow White. And if we look at it, there are 46 fresh reviews and 50 rotten reviews, bringing the tomato meter to just 48% for all critics as of right now. There's no audience score yet. And a couple days ago, I made a video about, the fact that the live action Snow White was receiving very positive receptions. But as it was noted in that Hollywood Reporter article, that positive reception came mostly from fan blogs and quote unquote influencers, which tend to skew more positively than the professional critics. But what the tomato meter is now proving, currently sitting at 48%. Again, that number could go up or down depending on when more reviews come in, because more reviews could come in on Thursday and then subsequently Friday. Is that it's not just the YouTubers and the shit posters on the internet that are bashing this film, because even the professional critics are now split on the movie, with it only holding a 48% tomato meter. And what this will what this will honestly do is this is going to kill the word of mouth. Okay, opening weekend box office. I made a video a couple years ago. Actually, it was when Black Panther: Wakanda Forever first came out. I think that was 2021. Actually, might have been a few years ago, but I remember it was sometime like 2021, 2022. I made a video on, basically why opening weekend box office doesn't matter. Now, unfortunately, it's been so long that I can't remember what I said verbatim in that video, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to expand on that idea here. The opening weekend box office for Disney's live action Snow White is not going to matter. Okay, this article here from the Hollywood Reporter, controversy aside, Snow White hopes to perk up the box office with $100 million plus global opening. Notice the spin. So they're now projecting a $100 million plus, box office opening weekend, but they're taking the global totals, not just the domestic. Typically when sites like Hollywood Reporter or Variety, when they talk about the box office, they talk about the domestic box office. That's the United States and Canada, because in the United States and Canada, the movie opens everywhere on the same day, but globally the movie opens on different days and at different times depending on the region. That's why box office analysts choose to focus on the domestic box office and not the international. The international is not looked at until much later. But here we go. Once upon a time, 2025 box office revenue was up 22% over last year. Now, after a string of miserable weekends, there's actually a 5% deficit. If tracking and exhibitor reactions are any indication, Disney's live-action Snow White could spark a turnaround with a domestic debut in the $45 million to $55 million range and north of $100 million globally. Now, I want to put those numbers into perspective, because the live-action Snow White was originally, back in February 2025, was originally projected to open in the $63 to $70 million range domestically. Now those numbers have been knocked down. But here we go. But there are no guarantees, and Disney execs are on high alert. Overseas, the movie, which faced numerous delays due to the pandemic and labor strikes, is unfurling in virtually every territory, save for a few Middle Eastern markets because of Ramadan. Snow White arrives in theaters loaded with baggage after being buffeted by delays and controversy again and again, beginning with a backlash over casting Rachel Zegler in the titular role because of the color of her skin. She is of Colombian descent. Again, I touched this in the video that I made a couple days ago. I'm not denying that there is an element of racism there, with the casting of Rachel Zegler. How much of that controversy is just people that just genuinely don't like her? No racism at all. Again, I'm not denying that it's there. There are comments that called her Snow Brown on the internet, so that one is call a spade a spade. But to blame the entire controversy around Rachel Zegler's casting on just racism is overlooking other legitimate problems. And personally speaking, while again I am acknowledging that racism is there, it was never going to matter who was going to take over the role of Snow White. It was always going to be met with backlash. Take Rachel Zegler out of it completely. It wouldn't matter. The backlash is there. But anyway, getting back to the Rotten Tomatoes, basically, yeah, this movie is not just an internet punching bag from YouTubers and other shit posters on the internet, because even if the professional critics are coming out and saying, yeah, it's not really that great, if we look at some of the reviews here, I'm only looking at the top critics. I'm not looking at all critics here. Here we go. The first one from O.D. Henderson from Boston Globe. I had high hopes that Snow White would make me happy. Instead, this dopey remake made me sleepy and grumpy. That's actually kind of funny. Tara Brady from the Irish Times. The most distracting flaws are rooted in the problematic recreation of animated material. The permanent magic hour lighting is hard to look at. Worst of all, the decision to quote-unquote cartoonize the dwarves alongside human actors is hugely problematic. Here we go. Nell Minnow from RogerEbert.com. Some parts of the film work better than others, but none of it has the sweetness and imagination of the animated feature. This Snow White is not the fairest of them all. It's just, well, fair. Here we go. I did actually... here's actually one of the fresh reviews from Nicholas Barber from BBC. This one to me is actually really, really funny. I don't know if it should be taken as a good review or it should be taken as a bad one, because to me it's kind of a backhanded compliment. Anyway, I'll read it word for word. The story is cluttered, the tone is muddled, and the pacing is off. Again, that doesn't make the film a disaster. In some ways, the identity crisis is what makes it worth seeing. Again, I think that's a bit of a backhanded compliment. Is like, look, you made a bad movie, but it was so bad that it actually was kind of entertaining. Again, I don't know if that was meant to be a praise or a backhanded compliment. But to be fair, there were some good reviews in here too, and I do want to read one of those. Here from Linda Merrick from Hey You Guys, word for word quote: a visually stunning, thematically rich adaptation that successfully modernizes the classic tale. This is a fairy tale for a new generation, one that reminds us all of the power of courage, kindness, and believing in a better future. So it's not all, slamming. Some outlets choose to focus more on the Rotten one, and I do want to highlight the worst one here. In my opinion, what is the worst one from the Seattle Times by Maura McDonald here. The end result is neither good enough to be a classic or bad enough to be a guilty pleasure. It's just there. And that's pretty much what all of the bad reviews are saying, is that there's basically nothing really special about the live action Snow White. It's like they said, it's not really a good movie, but it also doesn't fall into the so bad it's good category. It's just there. And honestly, that's one of the worst things that you can do with a movie. You can make the greatest movie ever made. You can make a bad movie, because there's even value in making a bad movie, a movie that is so bad it's actually good. Look what happened to Madam Web when it released onto Netflix. That movie has the distinction of being one of, if not the worst movie, if not one of the worst movies of 2024, yet it did gangbusters on Netflix because everybody was making fun of it. Dakota Johnson was, even Sydney Sweeney joked about it in her SNL, in her opening monologue on the episode of SNL that she hosted. It was even made fun of by John Mulaney at the Oscars. It finally comes to Netflix. Now everyone can see what everyone is making fun of. So yes, there is value in even making a really bad movie, because sometimes a really bad movie can be just as valuable as a really good movie. But a movie that just exists is the worst thing you could do. It's the worst thing to do is make your movie boring. It's like, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's just kind of there. Okay, with basically these Rotten Tomato scores, what they prove, I don't want to say that they validate, they don't necessarily validate the naysayers, but in order to generate good word of mouth, now I've always been of the opinion that internet boycotts will never work. Okay, the YouTube movie commentary community, whether or not they'll probably try to take credit that they played a hand in Snow White not doing as well for Snow White, for Disney's Snow White falling off second weekend. That's not the way it works. Most people look at the tomato meter and it's like, okay, this movie got a ton of backlash online. Oh, whatever. That's easy to dismiss as just, oh, these people are just a bunch of insecure incels that just can't get over, Rachel Zegler's casting. But then they look at the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and it's like, oh, the critics kind of feel the same way as all of these YouTubers. I think I'm going to pass. So again, am I going to call it right now and say that Disney's live action Snow White is going to be a bomb? I'm not calling it right now, but all I'm merely pointing out is that the 48% tomato meter score, which to be fair, can go up by the time this video goes up Thursday morning, or it could go down. It's kind of in between, because more reviews can come out Thursday, and then more reviews can come out Friday. This does not help word of mouth at all, because now it's not just a bunch of YouTubers complaining. Even the quote unquote professional critics don't like the movie.